To another edition of 20 Question Tuesdays. My guest today is Peggy Hanna from Peggy's Porch Parties. We have a ton to talk about, and I want to let you know this is a pre recorded interview. We weren't able to do it at the regular live time, but I'm super, super excited to talk to Peggy. We have a lot to talk about, and it's going to be really, really fun. Little bit of housekeeping. I hope everybody had a safe Memorial Day, and I hope that you took some time for remembrance for those who died in service while on duty in the military. And those of us who are on the civilian side of the civ-mil divide, it's our duty and our obligation, in my opinion, to try to understand as best we can. And I hope that you tried, and I hope that you did some honoring yesterday. That's just my 2 cents. Also, I took off the regular From Here to There, and tonight I will be rebroadcasting the Beatles Week from Here to There at 8 p.m. Central here on Austin Music TV, as well as on all the socials. Let's see, besides that, just tons of beautiful things. I had a really great band gig for the first time in a year and a half, well, a year and 3 months, at the Duncan Showroom in Duncan with a couple of great Canadian musicians, Paul Jutras and Jeremy Sager. And thanks to Longevity John and everybody at the Duncan Showroom for that. Easily, you can go back and watch that if you like, Duncan Showroom, or on my website, or on my Facebook, etc., etc. I'm a little tongue-tied this morning. We're pre-taping early. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and invite my friend and yours, Peggy Hanna. I'm going to invite her on into the show. Here she comes. Oh, you're sideways. Do like a little switch and then a little switch. Because you're sideways.
I'm sideways?
Yeah, wait for it. There you go. Perfect.
Oh,
now.
okay. Sorry.
Peggy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I got a lot of coffee cup now, too. There we go.
I know.
Okay, now it's perfect.
Good.
You see her smiling face. How's everything going today?
It's going well. I'm just dealing with rain issues. So that's...
Well, no, yeah. Oh, yeah, because, well, Austin has been hit really, really hard. For those who don't know, I'm up on Vancouver Island, but half the year I'm usually in Austin. Half the year I'm up here on Vancouver Island. My wife's from here. I'm a man of two countries. But my heart is with everybody in Austin right now dealing with these crazy rainstorms.
Yeah. It's been challenging because it'll be sunny like all day long. And I'll have a house concert scheduled, and then we're watching the weather, and my people arrive at my house at 6, but the sound at like 1 in the afternoon, and then sudden it's sunny, sunny, sunny. Then you have to call the band members and say, hey, I'm sorry, you're off. And then at 6:05, the craziest storm arrived on Friday, and it's been like that for the past few shows. So it gets a bit challenging, but we deal with it. We have to.
No kidding. Well, I bet also now that you have peeked behind the curtain of music in a lot of different ways, I'll bet that because I know from my wife's experience, I try to think that I haven't completely ruined music for her, but when she goes to a show and she's like on stage and her friends are like, this is awesome, and my wife can kind of tell, she's like, the Barry sax player, he's so mad at the sound guy right now, and he's not getting any sound. And yes. I could tell, and she's like, I don't know what to do, and I wish somebody would say something, but you get to peer behind the curtain of the smoke and mirrors that is the music industry, because we think you just set up and you go.
Oh yeah.
You're there at 1 o'clock when your show's at like 7, and you see how much has to go into.
Yeah.
And they also find out that our days are not like, oh well, you just play for an hour and a half that day. It's like no.
Yeah.
you pay us for the setup, and you pay us for the rehearsing, and you pay us for
right.
the promo, and then we play for free.
Yeah. It is. I mean, you really admire how much listen to what the musicians are doing, the sound people are doing. You don't even know until you're doing it. And I don't know. And honestly, I've been doing this since 2012. Still learning, the challenges come even the week before, you're just like, or the months before, but is what's killing me, but it all works out somehow. You know, we get it done, and the musicians are just lovely about it. I have not had any issues. You know, they're understanding.
Well, I think that's got to be. I'm going to apologize in advance. These usually I interrupt a lot because I'm going to blame it on Zoom or whatever form we're using today. But that's also probably a testament to you, and I'm going to say that as a compliment because it's not always that way. It's not always that easy, and for you to say that, okay, I've never had problems. Musicians have always been lovely. You know, sometimes we can have a pretty bad day. And sometimes that person who's running the show is not so understanding. So I think that's probably a testament to why everybody wants to come to play Peggy's Porch Party. So let's give everybody a little bit. I really wanted to have somebody on that I want to start having people on that aren't necessarily musicians per se, but are integral to what we're doing. And like there's a big thing. House concerts are really, really important to those of us who aren't on a super high level, who haven't graduated. Some of us never do. Some of us like it. You know, I know a lot of artists that are like, yeah, I'm not getting over the house concert level because I dig it. Some quick reasons as to why. The audience is there to hear music. The vast majority, if not all, of the money from ticket prices usually goes to the artist. They buy merch. It's usually just such a good vibe, and that's why we love house concerts so much. So let's talk specifically about Peggy's Porch Party and like when it started, how it started, just a little bit, if you want to give a little background.
Sure. Well, I met you. I don't know if I officially met you, but I was at a Bob Schneider concert in Fairfax, Virginia at State Theater. And I remember you were there. And,
theater too.
Yeah, Brandon Temple. I know a person that was an investor in that
really?
Theater. And this, yeah. And so it was fun. I always saw Leon Russell there. And so it was a go-to. So I moved to, from Washington, D.C., I moved to Austin, and it was 2010. And I never had house concerts. We lived across from the Marine Commandant, and we had one, the jazz band from the Marines came over. It's like part of the President's Own. I think that's the only house concert we ever had in DC. And then in 2012, do you know Charlie Mars?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well.
So Charlie's a friend of mine. He opened up for Bob. And I met him in Philadelphia, and he's from Mississippi, and I'm originally from New Orleans. And so he said he was going to be in town for a video shoot, and he mentioned, and I said, when are you coming? And he said, well, this week. And I said, well, I'm going out of town with my boys, my two young sons at the time. Would you want a dog sit? And he's like, do you? Nice. And I said, well, I do, but. And so anyway, so he came in town. He house sat for me for a week. He was really polite. He wrote me a handwritten thank you note, and he said, I want to do something for you. And I said, house concert. So at a house concert, it was the first one I did was for 2012. I didn't know anybody really, and hardly at all in college, and so I didn't want to piss my neighbors off. So I said, let's do it for a charity. And my friend Sarah Shippey, who helped me, she goes, let's do it for CASA of Travis County. Do you know CASA at all?
Yep.
It stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. I'm a social worker by training, and I did foster care in DC. So we kind of did it. We sold out the show. It was lovely. It was worked, but I was only at that time. Then I became a CASA. I actually volunteered for CASA. It's the most rewarding volunteer experience I've ever had.
Well, I should also break in and say that because I know you, I know that you're involved in lots of different facets of giving back to the community. That's not just the only one. From seeing you and some friends go down towards the border, and I've seen you involved in many things, and helping out musicians in many ways. So I just wanted to make that in.
We do. Yeah, we do. I think I did like 17 house concerts for Travis County. All the money went to CASA. It was a different business model. I've had to change it just for numerous reasons, but CASA Marin, the Cultural Arts Division of Austin, just a lot of different ones. Explorer program that my son was in. They were going to a competition and needed money. So yeah, so we started doing that, but I was only doing like one a year, and then it was like, and now it's almost every weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's something that I kind of warn. I've had a lot of people approach me about house concerts, and I've helped a lot of people start their house concerts, whether it's Treehouse over in Austin or it's
Mm-hmm.
Burling Hall in Houston, because I personally have been playing them since like 1997. The first one I ever played was Johnny Williams. It's called Johnny's Speakeasy in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Still going today. And just one of the best. Johnny has two rules: don't be one and don't bring one. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are his
Yeah.
rules. And
Right.
because a
Right.
lot of times it's about listening and just being cool. But one of the biggest problems with house concerts is people get above their raisin right off the bat and they try and move too fast.
Mm-hmm.
They try and get sponsors, they try and do this, they try and do that, and it's like, no, 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 no. Keep it simple, go
Mm-hmm.
slow, build up your email list, and take your time and make it great for you and the audience and your artist, and then it will just naturally build, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me get
Yeah.
back. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's really how it happened. I mean, seriously, that's exactly,
Kind of organically.
it just was, it was very organic. And,
that's the best way.
yeah. And so I think I was like trying to remember, but I think it was like literally from 2012 to 2018. So you're talking 6 years.
Yep.
It didn't, and then I was like, whoa, musicians are like, why, why, and I honestly, I was a little clueless. I didn't know really the music industry at all. I didn't know how.
I mean, how would you, too?
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
For those of us, we know, too, that the people who don't necessarily understand how it works, they're not coming to find out how we get paid. They're not coming to worry about our 1 o'clock sound check. They're coming to get out of their daily life and to enjoy some time. So we don't expect them to understand. You go the extra mile to learn is above and beyond the call.
Yeah. Well, you do. And you make mistakes. Believe me, I've made mistakes. I didn't, like, for instance, I didn't know, and I didn't know, this sounds ridiculous, like merch was so important to musicians. Oh, yeah. I didn't know. I had no clue. I didn't say table. I didn't know. Like, somebody said, can we bring merch? And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know. Yeah, sure. Put it on the kitchen table.
Like table, and they're like, yes. I can't even put my stuff there, And
yeah. Like I had to learn it. The musicians were very patient with me, which was nice, and like I said, I have not, knock on wood, I haven't had a bad experience. I think what I get the most out of the house concerts, because people are like, why do you do this? Okay, well, one, I'm lazy, I don't like to leave my house. We're like,
that's the best reason for a house concert I've ever heard.
I'm lazy, I don't want to leave, and I have been known to just go to bed. People are still in the house. I'm just like, oh, I can go to bed now. I'm like, my bed's right here. I'm going to shut the door, and you guys can hang out.
There's other people there watching the door. Okay, so we're not gonna.
I know, yeah.
That you go to sleep, and there's people you don't know in the house.
No, I have someone cover for me. They're like, I think she's out in the yard, and I'll be like in my pajamas,
Yeah.
So no, but it's also, I think what I get out of it most is just getting to know the musicians personally, because they're showing up around 4 o'clock, and we and they hang out afterwards. And my favorite thing that happens is that somebody plays my dad's baby grand, and that just brings back memories of my childhood. So it's just like it's just wonderful. And I consider all these people my friends now,
and they do become your friends. And I'm going to say a couple things. First of all, when I was there playing my first one at your show, I was almost going to play some piano, and I was a little nervous because I've always written on piano, but I haven't played. Well, now I'm starting to play a little more, so the next time I'm there, I promise.
Yeah, you're coming back and playing on my dad's piano.
I promise I will play the piano at least for a song or two. I'm diving. I'm just barely dipping my foot in the pool of playing piano at shows and really enjoying it. Just to break off for a couple songs and play on piano is really
that's
a nice break.
Tell me if it's in tune. You know who tuned my piano? It was John Sanchez from Bob Schneider's band. Yeah, he's a great tuner. And he was there for like 3 hours, and I got to know him. Like I would not have had that experience. So it's and
again, you kind of get to see behind the curtain and go, oh, well, these are just people. They're just people like the rest of us. And I know a lot of audiences don't want to. They see this kind of mystique, this personality on stage, which is good. You know, having a persona and all that kind of stuff on stage is important. You want it to be a show. You want
Right.
it to not just be like, I'm just sitting up here playing my list of songs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which can happen. And the songs speak for themselves sometimes, and that is fine. But you really start to get to know, like, I remember we used to joke about house concerts when we first started doing them. Like, house concerts are great, but there are certain things you need to be aware of. And one was, well, I've got a room, it's my kid's room, the bed is in the shape of a car, you can sleep there if you want. It's like, you know, I'm allergic to cats, so please don't, you know. And then the other one that's really, really funny that happens is you'll go to like a house concert and they're like, we're all getting in the hot tub after. It's like, no, we're not. We're not getting in the hot tub after. I've had a really nice time. We're going to go get a hotel. So there are the
Yeah.
people who do house concerts that are kind of like looking for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know almost immediately. And I would go so far as to say 95% of the house concerts I've done are not that way. It's basically someone who's like, well, I didn't realize it was so hard for a musician to make a living, and I want to help. How do I help? And I'm always like, start a house concert.
Yeah.
I always say start a house concert, take your time, learn from the other people who do them. They all talk to each other. You know, like people who run house concerts talk to other people who run house concerts. Some of the I want to know now a little bit too. You know, I'm a lucky Black Fret artist slash recipient of a major grant, and Black Fret does a lot of good stuff for the Austin community. And you are you're not paired with them in any way regarding this stuff, but you do get a lot of Black Fret artists.
I do. I became that was probably I became a member of Black Fret in I think 2017. So yes, I've had Black Fret people. I'm you know really involved in Black Fret, you know, just as a member.
Right.
So I've had several Black Fret artists play at my house. I've also promoted some people that became Black Fret artists. So like Leyline, yeah,
really helps.
yeah.
Sorry,
so like I don't know if you know Leyline at all.
Oh, of course, Leyline.
Yeah. So they
played right before me at Old Settlers a couple of years ago, or right after. I can't remember on a side.
Oh yeah.
The outside stage.
Yeah.
They were right after me. I'm sorry. I
right.
was before them, and they're so great. Anyway.
I know. I met those ladies. I'm like, I'll do it. They at Utopia. And it was Mobley was playing. Mobley's also a Black Fret artist, and they came up. They were in the Black Fret tent. That's what happened. And Emily was like, it was really hot, and so she was about like she was about to pass out. And so there was like a cooler of beer, and there were some rags in there. So I like put a rag on the back. I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, and then they started saying that they were they were musicians. And I'm like, okay. And then they were like, I said, oh, wow, I do a house concert. And they're like, oh, we want to do a house concert. I'd never even heard of them. And so I'm like,
really cool.
Yeah. So they played at my house, and I'm like, to be honest, I listened to their music and I said, I don't know if my crowd's going to go for this. You know, this is not the typical.
Well, let's talk about it. It has a little bit more of a world tinge.
Yes. It's like they sing in French, they sing in Portuguese. Yes.
It's not your typical four-woman combo, if there is such a thing as a typical
right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so anyway, people were away. And then I was like, hey, Black Fret, you need to, I know. I brought him. There was a panel at the North Door, and all these. It was just this was way before the pandemic. We're going back to, gosh, I don't know, 2019, maybe 18, 19. Yeah. And so there was a panel. Colin was on it.
Like there was 10 years ago.
Yeah, Susan, 50 years ago.
It feels like it.
And then, yeah, it feels like it, right? And so anyway, so there's a panel, and Colin was there, and some other people from the recording industry, Antones, and it was just anyway. And so they had a business. I said, go up to Colin, give him your card, da da da. And then I don't know, 6 months later, the '04 Center, somebody said we need another band who can do it, who. And I said, you guys got to get Leyline up there. And so they were like, you know how they do at the Blackfoot shows, the consideration shows. This is before we did. Yes, you have. And this is before we nominated or anything. But so they had like kind of a surprise act at the end, and they got up there and they got a standing ovation. I mean, nobody sat down, and it was just like, and then they won, the major grant. And then I've taken them, my sweet friend, Cheryl Gutell from Colorado, she's hosted them. And she, they're staying at, I think they're in Cheryl's house right now in Colorado, in Denver. So we've taken Peggy's Porch Party on tour to, I've had Leyline playing, Nicole Wagner played one summer. We take it, and then there's another guy that does house concerts in Denver. And, so it's just kind of this, it's kind of coming along. And then Cheryl met this guy named Jackson Emmer out of Denver, and he's played and, I typically support, my mission is to support local music, but I also have, I guess I have a really soft heart. I don't know. I've had Travis Linfield, who played with Pace Carl. Yeah, he's from Oklahoma. He came. It was literally, and I'm not lying, it was a tornado when he was here. So yeah.
Well, speaking of tornadoes, no, I don't know. I have no segue here, so I figured I'd say that. One of the things that you mentioned about it, and for anybody who runs a house concert who's watching right now or who's thinking about it, there's another thing that I want to mention about house concerts that I love, and that is famous artists come to house concerts and feel just part of the audience and just somewhat anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Writers for newspapers and publications come and feel just part of the audience and feel no one's gonna bug them. There's something about the format, and it's also surprising too. I think for a lot of people, I was trying to explain it to somebody up here on Vancouver Island, and they're like, "So it's a house, so you play a show and you do this, and what do you do? And people come and you charge tickets." And I explain about how sort of informal it is, and that's when it works the best, in my opinion. The ones that are giant sponsored with, this kind of thing, it's a different kind of vibe. And I don't know how you guys are dealing with sponsorship or anything like that, but usually when it gets a little too big, it's like, okay, we got to back off. We got to make this a little bit more just about the artist, about the audience. That's it, because that's where the charm is, right?
Right.
So where are you guys with that? Have you started? I'm curious.
We could use sponsorships. Well, so what happened with Peggy's Porch Party in right before the pandemic, everything, it was January of 2020, and I became a nonprofit. So and so my mission statement is to support local musicians and other nonprofits. So we don't have sponsorship. I mean, I've had like some really generous friends that have, helped me out, which has been,
they kind of behind the scenes. They're like, I want to come and I'm going to pay for this anyway. I'd rather give you a little bit of money to keep it going.
Yes.
And I got a seat here for the year.
Right. Exactly. And so it kind of evolved from that. We're still working on that. But like you said, I don't want it, things are so good right now and it's so organic that I don't want huge sponsors. I mean, I've had beverage companies donate in the past. I really don't have that. I've had to change. So when you played at my house, remember I made food and I had drinks and everything. Yeah. But that's all changed.
Okay.
In some ways, COVID has helped me. Yeah, it really. So basically,
because I'm so used to it being, I'm interrupting again. I'm so used to house concerts. For those who don't know, a lot of times they're BYOB and they're potlucks.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious now, not knowing the answer. What's it like? Kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
Not post,
I can tell you. I always
did.
Yeah. I mean, I never had it potluck. honestly, I didn't know that's how it was done until I went. I had never been to a house concert.
Yeah,
I really
before you
hadn't.
started doing them.
Before I started, no, I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't been there. I didn't
Again,
know.
you didn't want to leave the house.
Yeah, yeah. I did not want. But wanted to give him my pajamas by the end of the night. But yes, but so anyway, but I prepared the food. My friend Cheryl would come in from Denver, and we'd spend.
Oh, I
She'd come
remember.
in
It was great.
days before we had this routine. I'd pick her up at the airport. We go to Buenos Aires on the east side and have empanadas and our wine, and then we'd start making this, and people are like, are you having food? I'm like, yeah, the same old crap I always had. We just had, it was like the staple. It was like the buffalo chicken dip,
It was always there. Yeah,
mac and cheese.
You had cocktail weenies too.
Yes,
Right,
meatballs,
right.
and just
the musicians have to watch and be careful what we eat before
I
shows.
know, but
Those
it was
potlucks
just
are
like,
deadly for us.
I know, but it was great. I had it, I had drinks in it. And then when COVID happened, nothing, like you can't do anything. And so we struggled with it. So basically what happened is I became the
interrupt again, but
yeah.
a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that through COVID, you were able to do socially distant shows that people felt comfortable about. You had it spread out. You were, because it was outside. People were masked. People were socially distant. They were in their pods.
Right.
You were one of the few places that was able to continue through.
Yeah.
Again,
so I'm fortunate. I live in an unincorporated area of Travis County. So there's no rules. I mean, yes. Has the sheriff come out? Yes. Am I known to the sheriff? Yes. We're all good. We are respectful. We have to shut down by 10 o'clock. We shut down by 9, so, but my house is small. So being inside is not an option. It may never be again. I mean, unfortunately, it could be, but I don't know. Who knows? But my yard.
Ticket ones.
Yes, my
honestly,
yard.
Like,
yeah.
There's a couple of places. I'm interrupting again. I'm so sorry.
No, you're
places
fine.
That what they've done is when they go inside, they're like, "Yep, $100 a ticket," because they're like, "Okay, there's 20 people here, and they really want to make sure the artist does okay." Instead of 50 to 100 people outside, and the people who are inside get a really special show, and so they're like, "Yeah, I'd pay for that,"
Yeah. But it's so we haven't done it, but what we were able to do when things settled down a bit, I have a great board, and so and Jeff, I didn't know if you could say that or not. Jeff is on it now.
Well, no, I mean, I am now. I mean, basically, when you guys approached me about being on the board, all that entails, as far as I'm concerned, so far has just been like, if I can give any advice as far as house concert concerned, I'm there for you.
Yeah, I know. And believe me, we're kind of.
That's been one phone call, and and I'm always available if you need anything.
I know. We will need some. We'll need some more. I mean, it's just that we are so busy right now with shows. It's like crazy. But going back to,
I mean,
it's working. Yeah. It is working. What's not working is the weather. So now I'm running into basically. I have so many shows like reschedule, and I'm booked through November. The end of November, and I just made an executive decision. I'm not going to book shows in December because I am having rain dates. Like I'm going to reschedule these shows. I mentioned that I had the South Islanders come, this past Friday, and we had this weather that started, and it was crazy weather. I mean, it was unsafe. It would have been totally unsafe for everybody. There was lightning, and Lonnie Trevino came in from New Orleans, and so it literally between Lonnie, I've never even met Lonnie, and it's like I know they're all good people. That's why I said I have not had a bad experience with any music. They we finally got a rescheduled date, but it would this is what people don't understand. Like when it rains, I don't sleep the night before or whatever. I'm just like, whoa. And then it took from 8 a.m. to probably p.m. to get a date that all the band members could come back on that date. And Lonnie could come in from New Orleans, and the sound people, can you come in? Because they've got gigs too, to do a big shout out to Carlos Zanetti and Robert Borowitz. Yes. I mean, Carlos was at the Townsend, and that shut down during COVID.
And it's Strange Brew before that.
And Strange Brew, and Robert was an investor in Strange Brew. These guys, they that's the one thing. People don't know how hard the sound people work too. I had no appreciation for it, but they're out there from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 12, 12 midnight, packing down. I used to have Bob's sound guy, love him.
Jay Thomas.
Sound guy for years.
I have a very short bit. I'm sorry. Connection thing again. More interruptions from Jeff. I have a very short bit during my show, and I say, you need to give the sound person a round of applause. And the sound person, and I always say, your sound person is your unsung hero of every show.
Yeah.
Because basically, there's some guy, or gal on stage like me who's looking down at their pedal, and it's not working because they didn't plug it in right. And they're looking at the sound person going, I don't know, man, it worked fine last night. And the sound person is patient and like trying to be like, just plug it in, man.
Yeah.
Or they've got like, this night it's a dead cover band with 2 drummers, and the next night it's 2 ukuleles and a bass.
Yeah.
And the next night, and they do it, and it's just, and so what I always say when I'm up there is, it's not out of the realm of possibilities to tip your sound person. And I always love just that one little mention when at the end of the show, the sound person comes up and they go, thanks, man. I got an extra $50 tonight, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I got an extra $20. That's a 6-pack. Thank you. And it takes just a little teeny, I learned that from like the people like Ray Wiley and Ruthie. It's like one little mention is all you need to just kind of give somebody a lift and say, man, I know what you're dealing with out there.
Yeah. And I need to do that. And Robert Gorwitz, you know him?
Yep, of course.
He's a Black Prep member too. He is volunteering. He volunteers. And if anyone, like we go live now, we're live streaming. And it's incredible. It really is. But we're laughing.
Well,
it's like,
well, let's talk about that with the live streaming. So you're live streaming to what platforms?
Is
it just
Facebook that's Robert right does before? There's like 4, but Robert has a YouTube channel, Robert Gorwitz.
Okay, so YouTube and
also Peggy's Porch Party page. We're like, it's always funny because we're looking. At first, it was really. I was like, oh my God, we're live! Like we're live, and we're like we are live, And I was like, whoa, and then I don't even notice it anymore. But it's they are doing an amazing job. He's got GoPro camera, the railing of the porch, and he's got
we have between cameras and stuff. This is a lot more also than your average house concert, because sometimes the house concert it's just a gal up there with a guitar playing and singing, and there's not even a PA sometimes. But as they build, and yours is one of the ones that built, also the Rawhide Trail built like that too, where Leslie and Leslie Joe
Dino.
And Dino, thank you. They've done a magnificent job of turning it into something. There's really, really professional sound in their home. But really both are okay. So if you're watching this, just because they've got it, it starts humbly. And it doesn't have to graduate. Some people stay at the level of, I just want to open my living room to 40 people and have a nice concert and help out musicians once every couple months. And man, we love that too. But back to Robert, because I want you to mention this. He's doing the restreaming, and he's doing the video camera, and he's making sure it goes to the platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's doing all that.
That's a gig.
Oh my God, yes. And he actually is starting he's doing his production company. He's just starting that. So he's going to retire. He works for the government. He's going to retire pretty shortly. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But he wants to do this. He loves to do it. It's just his passion. People are asking for him now. We've been able to, he and Carlos are so just generous with their time. Sean Hayes, we got to do a shout out to Sean Hayes too. He has been wonderful. He's the one that was able to help me decide when it was safe, because I'm actually a really big rule follower, believe it or not. And
Okay.
I don't like to be called out on stuff. And so when COVID happened, I had 5 concerts scheduled. I mean, and they were big. They were Beetroot Revival, Wendy Colonna, and I had to shut it down. And what happened was I shut it, like it was, contact every attendee that was coming and say, we can't do this. Obviously people knew it was, this was right when South by was shutting down. I mean, it was, crazy time. Canceled event on Facebook, which was totally my bad. I mean, my bad, but I'm not a big Facebook person. So lashed out at me. I got a lot of backlash, and I was just, I was really upset. I'm like, if you knew me as a person, I'm the last person to put people in. I don't, and I said, please, I just killed her with kindness. Just please come to my party. When we start back up again, I would love for you to have out, but I would never do anything to, cause harm. Like, and with the weather the other night, it was like, I'm not having people. What if there's lightning and stuff? So anyway, so I had to shut down 5. And so in September, after consulting with Sean, who's, follows all the COVID guidelines and knows that, knew everything, was in the Moderna trials at the time. And he said, I think we can do it safely outside, but how are we going to do it? And a lovely concert series that I love is Wildwood. Have you ever been to Wildwood?
Yes, Wildwood.
Yeah. It's fabulous. And so I went to see American Dreamer, Sasha, and that's another little story, but they have, I think they have 5 acres, I don't have acres, but they had circles, the pods drawn, and so we got the idea of that. Sean would come out, draw. I mean, we would measure 6 feet apart.
Honestly, you were trying to do it right, and you wanted to make your people feel comfortable.
Right.
And if I can break in real quick again.
Yeah.
From the artist and from the venue, what I've noticed across the board, which has made me feel great, is people were asking me pretty early on, even though I was up here, are you playing gigs? What are you doing? I said, I've kind of boiled it down to 2 rules. Do I feel safe? Does my audience feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
And the workers, of course. And if those things were there, then it was cool. I know a lot of people who had gigs during different times of waves during COVID that showed up at the gig and went, nah, this doesn't feel right. And they left.
Yeah.
And they were just like, I'm sorry, but no, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. And it's just like, people are just about it. And so we did the thing, and then we one person in the house with their mask on to go to the bathroom, and that's kind of like, get bathroom duty.
Yeah.
It's like, and people are just respectful. They're respectful to the artists. So we were able to do, I think we did 5 in 2020. So from September to the end of December, we had Love and Chaos out, and Dave Scher and Andrea McBain, and we had, we had Joe James out. He brought Jordan Matthew Young, who just placed 3rd in The Voice. He's going to come back. Yeah, he's going to come back. Those guys are just awesome.
That'll be a nice
and
return.
We just, we were able to have, a few artists, and then it got bad again. So then we shut down again. So we shut down January, February, started them in March. Pat Byrne came out with Rich Brotherton and Andrea McGee. I mean, it was just, we were sold out. We were sold out. We were safely distanced. Everything was great. The weather was perfect in 2020, not so much this year.
Yeah,
but
of course.
And we had those challenges, and then we started back up, and Beetroot opened up, and then we had Brody Lane, which is AJ Vallejo's new project. And we just had Carrie Hudson. And the funny thing about Carrie, she was like texting with me. She goes, well, Carlos says I can bring the whole band out. And she goes, I just don't think it's possible. I said, if Carlos says it's possible, it's possible. And sure enough, the whole band came out.
Wow, you had all the good company. Oh man, that's cool. So
yeah. And then the funny thing was, is it Eric that's the bass player? Yeah, I was like, so my biggest challenge, Peggy's Porch Party website is press, and I am not so challenged in that area. Again, my Cheryl Guttel put it up for me, and now I'm like having to post all the updates, which is I'm booking shows every single day. I mean, I'm working
no,
on
I
it. So
know, yeah.
yeah, we're booked up to the end of November, but I was like, does anyone, I like yelled out in the audience at break time. I said, does anyone know how to do WordPress? Because my email list is I'm like so challenged in that. And Eric I was standing right in front of him. He goes, I'll help you. And so now the musicians are helping me, like you. Like it's
Well, I
truly
mean,
an
it's
amazing community. And people are like, you must be exhausted. I said, I am, but I love it. And I can't, I'm like,
take breaks
you
for
know,
yourself. Take breaks for yourself,
I
and
am. I'm
just
going to
my
Florida for a couple
advice.
of days.
Good, and I think you should really take break for yourself. You're doing a lot for musicians. All of you who are involved with Peggy's Porch Party, and all of you who do house concerts, are doing quite a bit for musicians. We don't want you to burn out, and
Yeah.
we understand. Like I understand that like certain concerts I've helped start. Well, they can't have me every year anymore because they have too many people. Okay,
I know.
and
I do
and
need to
it's
have
like,
you
look, if
back.
they
I'm
only
going to
do
have you back.
12, if they only do 12 a year, then
Yeah.
I do not act like, well, you owe me a spot, you know? And I just don't anymore. But
Yeah. Here's here. I don't know if you can see this, but here's my
I can see
list of
it.
shows.
That's a perfect
And
example.
then I have six more. Six more.
Well,
So
when I
yeah.
come back from the Maple Curtain, we'll book something, but I like to
Yeah.
book way in advance anyway. Um,
I
what
also
else was
want
I
to do
going to
it.
say?
Sorry, before I forget, I want to do a shout out to Mary Jane Steele. She's really helping me. She's on the board and she's been really supportive. And she does all my check-in. You have to have, like you have all these people that have to help you. Art and Judy Gressel, we've taken the Peggy's Porch Party brand to they live they live
Another
on
venue.
Yes, another venue. They live on a street that has the word ledge in it. So we call it Peggy's on the Ledge. So like
Oh, I
this
love
Friday
that.
night, Peggy's on the ledge with Dave Scher. So, and I
Another
really
big
am on
friend
the
of the
ledge for
show.
the most part, if you know me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we've taken it there. There's a venue out in Leander that we may take it there. We've taken it to Colorado, and
You're just starting to build. Who knows? You're going to have
yeah,
your own circuit named after you just because of the kindness of your heart and wanting to help out musicians. That's the way these things start, and it's really beautiful. Since we're like a little over halfway through the show, I want to mention we're on Austin Music TV. And thank you for that and for giving us a platform. Also, we're on AustinCityJams.com. Thank you, Kirby Walker, for always putting these out. And my guest here is Peggy Hanna from Peggy's Porch Parties. And we will have the email for information, or I'm sorry, the website for information. I don't know if it's going to be below you or me, so I'm not going to point down.
okay,
Because I'm going to put it in later. I think it might be below you, but it's just,
okay,
we'll see. But it'll be on the screen so that they can find out more information. While we're thinking about it, though, do this for me. I know we always got to watch the FCC guidelines, but I will say this. You have some upcoming shows that maybe one thing got to be moved and you're a little worried, like, hey, so I don't mind at all, and I know we can. Who's coming up? Who's coming up like right that you want to make sure gets a full show? You mentioned something before the show.
Yes. So this Friday night,
Yes.
which is June 4th, is Dave Scher, and
Okay,
I think,
fantastic. You
yeah, I
gotta
think
have
he's
a good
bringing his
show
full
for him.
band, and that's going
He's
to be
gonna
at
do
that's going to be at
great.
the other location.
Let me talk about
Then,
Dave Scher real quick. Dave Scher
uh-huh.
is a guitar player's guitar player. He's a great songwriter. He's a great singer. He's plays with like usually a power trio, and he's a brilliant guitar player. I remember someone from Warner Music Nashville called me and they said, "Hey, I want you to go see this guy with me." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Come down to 6th Street. This guy's playing downtown." And I was like, "Okay." And so I went with him, and it was Dave. And we sat there, and I was like, Dave was kind of playing some covers and stuff like as you do on 6th Street. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Man, he's fantastic." He's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think he's incredible." I was like, "I can't wait until he plays one of his tunes." He goes, "Oh yeah?" And I was like, "Yeah, these are covers. He's kind of doing the 6th Street thing, but he's amazing. I can't wait to see what he does," which usually isn't the case when I hear someone playing covers.
Right, right.
Okay. All of a sudden, he played one of his songs. I think it was Hardest Part, maybe. Anyway, he started playing this song, and I go, "That's gonna his," and I wasn't sure. but I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, this just sounds unique. And he goes, really? How can you tell? I was like, I don't know. I was like, but this is great. And it was a song, and as it turns out, yeah, I was guessing right, and it was an original. But I got to peek into his soul and what he was writing. And musicians sometimes they got to pay the bills, they got to go down and work for tips. Now Dave is a Black Fret artist and doing his own thing, and a really incredible producer. Played on my Soul Slide album, played on my Sleeping Dogs album. I was lucky to have him play on both of those. A show not to be missed.
Yeah. And I tell this story, and I'll tell it. He'll probably like,
Please.
every time I introduce him, I'm like, is it okay if I tell the story, Dave? So I went before the pandemic. I can't tell you when, but it was before the pandemic. I went to Gary Clark Jr. had 3 sold out shows at the Moody. And I went the first night. And so then some of my girlfriends were going the third night. And I heard him say something, and I was like, so I don't know how I got wind of it, but so each night he called up a guest guitarist, and the third night was Dave Scher. And if you just Google it, I mean, just look at the YouTube video, it's Gary Clark Jr. and Dave Scher, and I still go back to it. It gives me chills. Gary, all of a sudden, he's just like, who is this guy? And they're both from Austin, but he was blown away by Dave Scher. So if Gary Clark Jr. is blown away, I mean, Dave's a good guitarist and a great guy. He's just,
show. Okay, so that's Friday.
That's Friday. And okay, then after that, so that's June the 4th. And then I've actually opened my house to a Pease Elementary School, a historic school in the Austin ISD school district. They closed. It was over on 12th Street. And the former principal down the street, and my really good friend Julia worked there. And so they're doing their we were supposed to do it before the pandemic, but that got shut down. And a young band called Much Too Much. They're actually friends with Leyline, two girls. They're playing, but that's a private. That's a private show.
Much Too Much. Put them on my list.
Yeah. So it's Much, and then it's the number 2 Much. Yeah, beautiful voices, beautiful harmonies.
Try and take notes and listen to stuff like.
And so then so now, and then Peggy's on the Ledge. So basically, it's kind of nice. The next 2 shows are at Judy's house. So I'm can be a guest in the audience. I don't talk for the most part. I don't talk during a show, but I don't talk. I don't have to make announcements and all that. And then we actually have Peggy's on the Ledge on June the 12th with Carrie Rodriguez and Luke Jacobs. So that's going to be amazing.
And fantastic. Can I mention too, she just started a series. I want to say that it's through Texas Music Magazine. And I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I saw her doing something with my pal Ruthie Foster, who's, I should say, she's been my friend for 20 years, but she's also kind of one of my heroes. She's like that one of those people that's ever inspiring, and Carrie. And they're in this field, and I cannot wait to check it out. And I
know. The funny thing about the way I met Carrie Rodriguez, and who is actually, she was a Black Fret nominee of 2020. And I have to say, I mean, poor Black Fret nominees in 2020, they just didn't get the experience that you got to experience. And so we're hoping that, they can at some point. But anyway, I mean, it's, it is what it is. But Carrie was on, this was probably 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago. And I was going somewhere, I don't know where I was going. I was on a shuttle bus. I always park at Fast Park and then take the shuttle to the airport. And she was there, and of course she's beautiful, and she had an instrument bag, and the guy she was with had an instrument. And I said, who are you? We're just like, this was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I go, who are you? Yeah, I'm like, who are you? He's just like, I'm Carrie Rodriguez. And I go, oh my, I said, I've heard your name. I said, do you know Black Fret? She goes, no, I've never heard of them. And so I'm like, oh, you got to know, Black Fret. And I think I handed her a Peggy Sports Party card. And then 3 years later, she becomes, and I actually, thinking about Carrie Rodriguez, you were talking about me going down to the border. I was doing some humanitarian work down at the border. I went 4 times. I actually brought a family back recently. And they're here in Austin. And so, but Carrie's Betty Garza, and she came down and we brought music to the border. So she performed down there. And so I've met Carrie's aunt, but yeah, I hadn't, I don't know
That's so
Carrie.
cool.
So
Well,
yeah,
can
so
you
I'm
mention really quick too,
sure.
because you just glossed over it for just a second, your work going down to the borders was having to do with family separation
Mm-hmm.
and having to do with trying to help
Mm-hmm.
what not relocate
Reunite and yeah.
reunite. Thank you. That's the
Mm-hmm.
word I was looking for. And you went down with your friend Cheryl too, right?
No, it was actually Ann Finch is who I
Oh, it
was
was
going down with.
Anne. It was Anne.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know Ann.
I do,
Yeah,
and she's awesome.
yeah.
She's another music supporter,
She's the
great
real
person,
hero. But
humanitarian.
we
Yeah,
witnessed a lot down there, and it was really heart wrenching.
yeah, it's heartbreaking.
And we met some pretty, like there was what was her name? I can't remember. Sanchez. She's a really journalist, and we witnessed people. After they had been stuck on the border, we went actually to the Brownsville Matamoros,
Right.
and so we would stay in Brownsville and we'd cross over. And I didn't. I thought the border was like I was going to have to walk 5 miles. No, it's like walking out your front door, and then there's the border.
Yeah.
So we did a lot down there. This little boy that actually is back in Austin, who we picked up when they released these people. He had broken his leg, and they're from Honduras, and he was as tall as his mom, and she was having to carry him on her back like throughout this muddy, the conditions were just it was horrible, and people drowned. There were several people that drowned trying to swim across. And so anyway, Anne, love Anne, she got a wheelchair, and she got her friend who ran a respite home in Brownsville to give us a wheelchair for this kid. She was like, we have to get a wheelchair. And when Anne wants to do something, she does it, she's going to get it. It's going to be done. So we were trying, I was going back. I was like, Anne, I've got to leave. I can't go across the border again on Sunday morning. I can't. I've done it like 3 times, but I got to get back because I don't know. I had my dogs probably. And so she's like, oh no, you're coming and you're going to ride in this wheelchair across because we have to get it across. We have to get it through customs. And so
you had
in this wheelchair. I did it. I got the wheelchair across. Awesome. And so we got it across. And then coming back, guess who gets detained? I'm not even in the wheelchair. I got detained at the border. No, I did. And it was terrible. It was not terrible because I of course wasn't detained that long, but I'm like, what am I detained for? I could get across in this wheelchair, but now I'm walking, walking. And I was the only one out of the group that got detained. I was just like, oh, good Lord. But I made it. I'm here.
Can't tell. And
yeah,
so
but it was great.
Thanks for, I just wanted to mention for a little bit too. Well, I mean, because, part of the deal too with house concerts is that the house concert takes on the personality a lot of times of the person who's running it. And you have things that you're into and things that are near and dear to your heart and that are important. And we tend to, whether it's a cause or it's something that's going on or helping musicians or helping somebody else or CASA, that becomes part of it. And that's another thing that I really love about it. And venues can do that too, but there's just an opportunity a lot of times to shed light on things and to shine a light on things, and I don't know, I kind of appreciate that. As musicians, we can't do a lot, but we can help shine a light on issues, and we can point people in directions a lot, and we can give our time. And you're doing that as well on top of everything else that you're doing.
Well, I have to say, what helped me during that time is playing your music. I would take all the local artists. I'm like, I'm on the way, the 6-hour drive down here. I'm going to play I played Carrie Hudson. I played, Wood and Wire. I was just like, I'm just going to play music the whole time just as a distraction, And so that's what got me through the ride. So thank you for for helping me with, I played Sleeping Dogs. I was, so it was great. So yeah. But we do try to highlight, part of my mission is to raise awareness for other nonprofits. So we just raised money for Sims. Natalie Price was just out, and she had won a
Sims is
singer-songwriter
Sims
contest,
is
and
the
she
mental
got a
health
five,
awareness and
yeah,
recovery,
mental health awareness
yeah,
month.
and recovery. Yeah.
I'm a social worker by training, so it's, you know, near and dear to me. And so they came out, they were great. We had,
Natalie Price, just to interrupt real quick, and then I
yeah,
want to make sure that we say all the goodbyes before we go off the television
okay,
part. Natalie Price also Kickstarter for her album, but she did some really, really unique things where she would pair it with matching donations
mm-hmm.
for a cause. And not only did it work really, really well, it was just kind of righteous and cool, in my humble opinion,
Mm-hmm.
to, ask. I remember when I was doing my second Kickstarter, it was about 4 or 5 days into it, and Hurricane Harvey hit. And I was like, I just can't ask anyone for money anymore.
Yeah.
I just stopped.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, this is not ick. You know, I was just like, I couldn't do it. And there's so much generosity out there. I wish that there were a lot of things that we didn't have to, ask for. But I gotta say, music fans in general, man, they're very giving to help musicians have a living.
Yeah.
They're also very giving to a lot of causes, and they seem grateful. And we're super grateful for you. So we're getting close right now to where I have to make sure it's like 59 minutes and 50 seconds or something, because of the app that does the restreaming of this and all that stuff. So I want to say thanks again to AustinCityJams.com and Kirby Walker. I want to say thanks to Sheila Steele and Austin Music TV and everybody else. And tonight will be a show that you can watch from here to there at 8 p.m. And as we're going off, we're just going to talk for a minute until my little thing, Cabbage Alley, usually means it's time for the show to end. I'm going to ask you something that I ask all of the musicians. I usually only have one question, because usually the show is by the questions from the audience. It was me today. But my question is always, what's your guilty pleasure music? And I always want to know what someone's super guilty pleasure, like some people will get on and it'll be like this really incredible, poignant songwriter, and she'll say, I love the Spice Girls. And like with me, seriously, and like with me, what happened was, when I grew up, when my mom was playing, Stevie Wonder and classical music and the Beatles, she would slip Barry Manilow in there. And so when I listen to Barry Manilow, whether I like it or not, I don't have any records, but when I hear it, I hear Can't Smile Without You, I get this warm, fuzzy feeling, or stuff like that. Do you have a guilty pleasure music that you just love to listen to that maybe not, because you have this broad taste of music, something that's just, kind of fun or funny?
Yeah, honestly, have you heard, so there's a Yacht Rock Review?
No.
And a review is
I know what Yacht Rock is, but
so anyway, but it's a band out of Atlanta, and I actually yes, and it review is REVUE, and they do all the like 70s and 80s cover songs, and people get in they look like they're off the Love Boat. Okay, so people come in costume, they sell out all over. And I actually met another airport story. I was taking a flight on Allegiant Air to Indiana to go see my son who was living up there, to Indianapolis. And there was this really young, cute mom there, 2 kids. The flight was 8 hours delayed. I had a glass of wine. She's like, where did you get that glass of wine? I said, I'm going to buy you a glass of wine because I feel so terrible for you. And so, because you have these 2 little kids. So we started talking. She was really cute. And she, my brother was a drummer in a band. Her brother was a drummer. You got 8 hours to talk. So you're just like talking. Oh, yeah. So she's like, oh, my brother plays these sold out shows. And, and my parents, it was like, she's like, he didn't finish college. I'm like, yeah, my brother didn't, it was just like one of those things. And so she's like, you should go and see them. I saw them at Scoot-In. I recruited people like Mark and Charles of Bentley came. Oh, so it's like this old music. Totally go. And it was, and I brought my DC friends to them. We went to the Hamilton in DC. They're like followers, everyone's followers. I was going to join the family when they played in Indianapolis. The girl, I think her name is, I can't remember her name, Melissa. She's like, I can't be there, but you can hang out with my folks and stuff. The drummer. And I mean, they sell out. And so they were supposed to come pandemic. So yes, that's my guilty pleasure. And it's just
Yacht Rock Review, as in REVUE, is your guilty pleasure.
That's it.
I cannot tell you how much fun it was to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank
And
you for having me.
well, and how grateful we are. It's Peggy's Porch Party. Is it .com? It's going to be
Dot
on
com.
while I'm saying this
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
.com.
But just so folks know.
No apostrophe, just Peggy's Porch Party.
Okay,
But it's
perfect.
PEGGYS. Yeah.